So Mark Wahlberg decides to go all in on this Rupert Wyatt directed remake of a 1974 James Caan film, The Gambler. Jim Bennett is a risk taker, both an English professor and a high-stakes gambler. Bennett bets it all when he borrows from a gangster and offers his own life as collateral. Always one step ahead, Bennett pits his creditor against the operator of a gambling ring and leaves his dysfunctional relationship with his wealthy mother in his wake. He plays both sides, immersing himself in the illicit underground world while garnering the attention of Frank, a loan shark with a paternal interest in Bennett's future. As his relationship with Amy, a bright and beautiful student of his, deepens, Bennett must take the ultimate risk for a second chance at putting his life back on track. So, okay, if you're rolling your eyes saying another damn remake these days, well, you know, sometimes a remake can be pretty good. And for me, the case is the same with this version of The Gambler. Now, through the luxury of Netflix and everything, I was able to watch the original with James Caan, which you can still find on there at this point in time. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of comparison here and there between the original and the remake, but I'm also going to judge the film based pretty much on its own merits, but I don't feel like there's so much of a great contrast there between comparing it to the original and basing it on its own stuff. Basically, you're talking about a film here that is very well directed. Rupert Wyatt does a fantastic job directing this film. I loved everything pretty much about this film. Everything that it went for, I really enjoyed it. But having watched the original just the day before, or at least finished watching it the day before, I definitely have some things to kind of levy against that. Because with the original film from James Caan, starring in the film, who's a fantastic actor. If you watch my Thief review, you know I think highly of the guy. I think he's amazing. And watching him in that version of The Gambler, he really does a wonderfully awesome job in that film. Playing a character with a lot of vulnerability and whatnot. It's very much a character-based drama about a compulsive gambler who just is going on this total downward spiral of sorts, going to a very desperate mindset, trying to scrape his way back out of debt, but he just can't. He can't. Every time he tries to claw his way out, he sinks down further because of his own vices and everything. So it's a very interesting type of film that way, and Caan makes the film fabulous on his own qualities of being a fantastic, amazing actor. And it was a very compelling film too, but it's obviously a very sort of deliberately paced 70s type of drama and whatnot, but done very, very well. And it does have some things that this version of The Gambler does not focus on so much, because that first, the original film is so much about the addiction, the compulsion, the self-destructive type of behavior that the character that James Caan portrays in that film. This version of The Gambler doesn't focus so much on it. It's in there, you can see this character does have that compulsion and everything, but the film doesn't focus in on so much about the self-destructive type of behavior that he has. He's not feeling like, throughout the whole film, get a real sense of a certain amount of humanity in this character, a certain amount of passion that the character of James Bennett has in this film, portrayed by Mark Wahlberg. And Wahlberg is so sharp in this film that he's playing this character as a very keenly intelligent type of guy, which is very different from the Caan character, who is much more of a vulnerable, desperate type of guy who's very much at the whim and mercy of a lot of these heavyweight gangland type of characters. Wahlberg's character of James Bennett is much more of that keenly savvy type of guy who knows how to navigate that type of world, knows how to really play things off. He's very much a player in that type of way. He's a guy who's not so much at the mercy of people, but he's got desperate situations, but he's a smart enough guy to try to find avenues. Even if he hits a few dead ends, he still knows how to maneuver his way and kind of con his way in different things. He's a much stronger willed character than James Caan's character of Axel was in that film. So nice little kind of different types of versions of this type of idea to go after. And it's a very interesting film. There's a lot of things I can give and take from both versions. But let's focus on the remake here, because I think Mark Wahlberg does an excellent performance in this film, and he is a very interesting actor that you can bounce between a lot of different weird, really kind of contrasting projects, from stuff like Pain and Gain and Transformers 4, and they do a really kind of really serious type of drama in this type of thing, and just go off in all different directions. And he does a lot of good things very, very well in everything he does. But I was just really taken with this film because, one, Rupert Wyatt's direction is just absolutely superb in this film. I just love that this film just kept going and focusing on characters, developing characters, taking long scenes to really kind of flesh out this character of James Bennett, who is also a associate professor at a college or whatnot. So there's this one scene I just really, really enjoyed, that he's just going on this sort of long lecture or whatnot, just talking about various things about genius and talent and all this kind of stuff, and just, it's very interesting. It's very intelligently written stuff too. But it's just like, I really appreciate the direction that Rupert Wyatt employed in the whole film, just taking the time, showing patience, and just allowing the characters to live and breathe and be fleshed out on screen, portrayed by wonderful actors who just do fabulous work in this whole film. I just love watching Mark Wahlberg doing this type of film, and it's very interesting. I liked his look in the film, the kind of long, shaggy hair, and he's obviously dropped a lot of muscle and poundage from what you saw in like the Michael Bay films he's recently done. So it looks a little bit more gaunt. It looks a little bit older than he probably really is, showing a little bit more age on him that he really usually does. And I think just aided the character more, just kind of made him look a little older, a little bit more worn, a little bit, just had looked like he had a few more miles on him. And there's a lot of things in this film, it's kind of jumping all around here, just kind of rolling off the top of my head, but I really kind of get a slight Scorsese vibe, that Rupert Wyatt just had a little Scorsese in the back of his head, kind of a tinge of that in here. I don't know that maybe I'm the only one, because definitely the trailer had that when it played Gimme Shelter from the Rolling Stones, which Scorsese's used on numerous occasions. But just the fact that this film just had kind of a 70s type of throwback vibe in a certain way, that a lot of the music is very kind of 60s and 70s funk vibe of sorts. Just, it has a real type of R&B type of flavor to that thing, and just the music was fabulous in this film. Just the soundtrack, the songs, everything it used was great, and just the look of the film, the kind of blue, smoky hue and everything. The film just has a nice kind of haze over it that just brings such a sort of atmosphere of a crime thriller type of thing, and sorts, just character dealing with all these loan sharks and all these people who deal with gambling and all this kind of stuff. Just wonderful type of stuff. I just love the vibe, the atmosphere of the film, just really kind of soaked in. It just seemed like Rupert Wyatt was going for something very evocative of 70s type of films like this, obviously since the original film was 70s, but has a totally different type of feel and vibe and style of cinematography and whatnot. But I thought how the film was shot was absolutely fantastic. The direction was way fucking good. Wahlberg's fantastic in the film. I think the film goes along on very, like I said, it goes on a different type of tone and vibe from the original film, because, again, that was a very, like I said, very much character-based, very kind of dealing with the vices and the addiction and everything, but still it had a little bit of a love story in there too and stuff like that, but it had a lot more of a turmoil throughout the whole film, a lot of type of erratic type of behavior, whatnot, just like that sort of out of control addiction type of behavior that you've seen in a lot of different films. Obviously some films I've recently covered with Less Than Zero and Filth, just dealing with a different type of addiction. But this film just kind of has a little bit more, focuses in a little bit more of a heart and humanity about his main character. It's a little bit more, the best way I could kind of give it is like a little bit more romanticized in a certain way, that the character is not, like I said, he's not a self-destructive guy in the typical sense that you think. He really has a much more wider canvas applied to him that just gives him a lot more depth and interesting qualities and whatnot. But overall, I think this version of The Gambler was a very good film. I don't think it was great, but everything that this film went out to try to achieve with itself, all the tones, everything it does with the characters, everything it does with the vibe, the atmosphere, I think it did very, very well. And talking more about the various casts this thing has, I fucking love John Goodman. I'm finally glad to have a film where I can address John Goodman as an actor, because I think the guy's always been in every single thing I've ever seen him in. He is an amazing fucking actor that I think he kind of goes overlooked because we just kind of expect it by him, because he's never really kind of fallen off and done a bad performance in his career. He just seems like a guy he's always delivered top-notch, high-grade work that we just always expected. So it's kind of taken for granted, but he's a great thing in this film, playing a heavy, of course. He's John Goodman. Of course he's a heavy. No, he's just such a heavyweight type of acting talent, and he just delivers it as this sort of lone shark or whatnot in the film, just delivers it completely. And everyone else in the film just does great top-notch work, too. They just deliver as charismatic characters, dimensional characters you can connect with, be entertained by, but also be invested in the dramatic storytelling of the film, but never really kind of goes really for deep down gritty type of danger or whatnot, because obviously the character of James Bennett, he's in for like over 200 grand in this film, and he's being threatened left, right, and center by people, and it never feels like the threat against him is that fucking dire. It never really goes into a really scary type of thing, which the original film really had those moments where James Caan's character is really getting leaned on heavy, and it's like you really got the real strong sense that this guy is just at the point of cutthroat here and everything. So, like I said, the original film was much more of a heavyweight, gritty type of heavy drama, whatnot. This one's a little bit more lighter in a certain way. It's just kind of going along and just kind of letting this character be a bit more of a guy you can connect with. You can empathize with this guy. You can feel for him in a certain way that it does. And the films definitely take different turns, whatnot. The original film it really is a steep, dark decline. It really has a really dark ending to it. This one has a much more, nothing that's so dark, that it really kind of has a bit more of a uplifting feel at a certain point, not to kind of make it seem like it's contradictory to the film. It really kind of flows everything in. It really, like I said, a bit more romanticized in a certain way, because there's a love story in this film that goes on to a much more fulfilling type of way. So there are different types of films that will give you different types of end results and everything. You get different types of things from each one. Obviously, the filmmaking style employed with this one is really up my alley, with the just kind of a crime thriller type of vibe and everything. I like the old kind of 70s and 80s cars they had in certain scenes and whatnot. It just kind of gives you that older type of thing. Kind of made me think of like the Mel Gibson film Payback in a little way. They had the same type of blue hue and everything. A lot of old school looking cars and whatnot. The film just feels a little bit old school and whatnot. Not being approaching things like a lot of things are today with a lot of flash. This film does have a certain amount of style to it, but it really takes its time to let the story and characters unfold in a very good way. So I definitely recommend it. I really enjoyed it. Just like I was pleasantly surprised. It kind of turned out a little bit better than I expected it to be. That it just really kind of pulled me in, sucked me in a little bit, just took me on a ride. Just very pleasing in my type of way. That it's a very pleasing type of drama that doesn't go too damn hard and dark, where it probably could have been, but we've already been down that way. So if you want that, go see the original James Caan film, which was a very good film. Felt the ending was a little kind of like a little abrupt or whatnot, but regardless of that, I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone who's not seen either version. So I would definitely recommend both versions of The Gambler, whatever taste, what type of style you're in the mood for. Something that's really kind of deep, dark, gritty type of character drama, someone on a downward spiral of addiction and compulsion. That's the James Caan version. If you want something that's a little bit more charismatic, a little bit has some sense of fun and whatnot. There's some humorous beats in the thing, because there's a lot of charismatic characters, a lot of fun stuff going on in certain places, but overall it's a interesting type of refreshing type of drama. If you want kind of a cleansing palette of certain things, there's a really good film to go out and see, because I think it's nicely enjoyable, and it was a lot better, way fucking better, than the film I watched on Christmas Eve last year, which was the steaming pile of shit called 47 Ronin. So this was nice, like, this is a good tradition. Now I've gotten off on a good foot. If I can find another film next Christmas Eve to go see, this ends a much better standard. So anyway, this will definitely make that long list of best movies of the year. I don't just do top 10s. I pretty much rank every single new film I saw this year, whether it's on the best side or the most disappointing side. And obviously the best side is very much more heavier, longer and everything. So it'll make it somewhere in that long list of nearly 20 films. So haven't got even numbers yet. So regardless of that, if you guys have seen The Gambler, either version, Caan, Wahlberg, leave your notes below, leave your comments below. If you enjoyed the review, if you want more people to see it, hit the like buttons, share it around on social media, your Facebooks, your Twitters. You can find RavensFilm Production on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that wonderful stuff. And I will try to get, I wanted to get a review of the original Black Christmas done, oddly enough, also from 1974. But, it's right at the line here, and I got an episode of 1201 Beyond to actually fully put together, so we will see what I have the time to be able to do. Maybe I'll just be a little late with it, but I think you guys will enjoy it, whether I get it done on Christmas or a day or two afterwards. So it's worth doing because it's a wonderful film. And this was a good film, The Gambler, starring Mark Wahlberg, directed by Rupert, Wyatt, with John Goodman and a whole bunch of other great people. So go see it if you really want to get a nice little drama in there that has a nice cleansing palette type of feel. So gonna cut off, so I will be back in due time, and I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll take care, you take care, and see you later.